Let's Play World. This time we are making Piccolo's cape and hat. In this first video we're going to be making his cape slash shoulder pads, and then the next video we're going to be making his hat. So check that out. It's at finalcosmicwar.com. I hope you guys enjoy it. And also support us and all those good things. Help us do this. So this is an incredibly simple project. The cape itself is almost entirely hot glued together, except for the trim on the cape, which I was coerced by my wife because she was yelling at me and that I'm being lazy, is actually stitched up. So if you are someone without a sewing machine or not very familiar with sewing, this is a very easy project. Now, I'm making these gigantic shoulder pads with a piece of PVC foam sheeting. Oh no, sorry, EVA. No, this is EVA. The first one I actually made with PVC foam sheeting. Okay, so this time around, I'm making out of EVA. This is a pretty thick sheet of EVA. And I'm going to be cutting out a central circle that the head can pass through. And you can see there's two circles on each side. Those are essentially the spots beyond his shoulders where it'll stick out, and these are going to stick out super far, like 6 inches off his shoulders, and it's going to be really big. And besides, the guys who I'm making for is quite a large fella anyhow. He definitely fits the demeanor of Piccolo. Once that's done, we're heating and shaping it with the heat gun here, and then we're going to create just a kind of dome around the tip of the shoulder. Not only is this going to be make it more true to the design, the curvature supports the structure, it gives it form, and it keeps it rigid. If it was just flat, it would flop down immediately. It wouldn't hold the shape, and it would not be very good. You'd be a very sad Piccolo. To give it a bit more structure, I take actually a bit of wire, and I run it along the back end of the shoulder pads, and hot glue that in place just for a bit more support. I originally said I made this out of PVC sheeting. PVC sheeting is good for support, but it's kind of hard to pass your head through. The EVA foam here is going to pass your head through very easily, but I felt it just needed a little bit more support to bear the weight. This is just regular old white cotton. I think it was just left over from some project, and I'm going to glue it. It's a big rectangle. I'm just going to glue it to the facing of the fabric, and that's all there is to it. I make sure to kind of fold down the edges so it's not super noticeable. And we're gonna put a lining on the inside, so it's all fabric all the way around on the inside. You can't really see in there, but it's just hot glued in there. I mean, one thing you could do is sew it up, and you can 100% sew EVA foam with a heavy-duty sewing machine. I may have done this. It's not typically recommended with a regular, like Brother or Singer sewing machine, but some of your heavier duty ones can get that job done. Or what you can do is you can sew up like a pillow scenario, and then put the EVA foam in as a stuffing to the pillow or a padding thing. But I straight up got this done in, I don't know, like an hour. This is all of the footage I have of it, and it's pretty much done in the footage. I think there's only like 2 segments of it, and with the hat, I think I got it all done in like 2 or 3 hours. It's a real simple thing I did for my buddy. It's no trouble at all. And as you can see, the hot glue binds into the surface of the EVA foam very nicely, and of course it binds into the fabric. The one thing that you need to worry about is that you don't use too much, because too much will soak completely through the woven fabric, and it looks nasty. It doesn't look good. Additionally, we put the hot glue generally in areas that will not be seen, so there is that. So this rectangle is the upper rectangle. There is a secondary rectangle that's going to be the full cape. So we actually have kind of two capes going on to give it a more ruffled effect. The corners are pulled in and glued to the corners of the smaller cape are pulled in and mounted to the EVA foam base. After we've got the main cape on the shoulder section. This main larger cape is going to be what's shown, but we need to have it glued down before we finish up the shoulders, because we need access to the EVA foam. And what we can do is we can hide all our glue marks underneath the top layer. this is going to bunch up the area around the shoulders and give them kind of that neck wrap look, and create layers and make it look more like a shawl, or not really. It'll create a bunch of wrinkles that look cool and make it look like it's been wrapped around his head and that. Additionally, because Piccolo has green makeup, the reason why we're replacing it is because the original one is covered in green makeup, and there's not really a good way to wash this because of the EVA foam and the hot glue and things like that. So we have a quote-unquote liner or inside trim for it, and what that equates to is a strip of fabric that's going to be wrapped around the neck and protect the main structure of the shoulders of the cape from the makeup that is going to inevitably be sweat upon this white fabric. So that itself is separate, and you can take that and you can wash it, and then you can continue wearing this costume with minimal damage, as it were. So as you can see, I'm pinning down the larger cape underneath the main cape, and then we're going to fold that in, fold the edge in underneath so that you can't see any of this. Additionally, we're going to be once they're all done, we're going to add up just a bit of fabric on the inside to hide all this stuff. It's going to not be seen. One thing that happened is I kind of had to rip a bit of this up, especially on the shoulder section, in order to actually reach up and stitch that seam along the edge of the cape, because I have to get all the way in there, and wrestling this into a sewing machine is not necessarily a fun task. So I ripped a little bit, like 2 inches of it off, just to give me a little bit of wiggle room so I can get the seam that I stitch up along the edge of the cape into the sewing machine without actually getting the entire shoulder apparatus in there and tangle up and wrestle with that. The bottom is also finished. It's just a regular rolled seam. You just roll it once and then twice so that there's no edge visible. And this is kind of important because in capes you can totally see the inside and the outside at all times. So when you're making cape, always run your double fold your hems, or have some kind of bias tape on there, because those are always visible there. Yes, we are finally actually getting to the neck, where I'm going to cut a sort of smaller circle out, and then I'm going to cut darts into it and wrap those darts in place. This is 100% not going to be visible because we're going to have that neck lining I talked about earlier in place, so we won't be able to see any of that. Yeah, it's absolutely not a thing. This is not going to go under sewing at all. This is a quick project I made for my friend to help him out. I think I only asked him for materials for the cost of this, and he could have his Piccolo. It's also, because it's such a quick project, we can just keep making these over and over again when that face makeup inevitably destroys it, or whenever it inevitably gets dirty, because capes, especially these plain white capes made of cotton, they get easily stained and damaged. Oh well, in the next video we're going to go and make his hat, and then for the next major project that we're doing is going to be Chun-Li's sewing full costume, and that's actual sewing. That's real sewing, not this bullshit. I hope you guys checked it out and believe that I can sew. Thanks for watching. Good times to all. It's thanks to you guys that we're able to make all of this awesome content. I hope you're enjoying, and I hope you stick around for a good long time. Good times to all.